In this section, we're going to look at different methods for solving quadratic equations. So we're going to start with what is called the extraction of roots method. So we'll start with the example, solve x squared is equal to 5. And hopefully this is going to feel like a fairly easy example. Your goal is to solve for x. And so I just want to remind you, if your equation is x squared is equal to 5 and you're going to solve for x, then you're going to need to take the square root of both sides of the equation. So when you take the square root of something that is squared, remember that your answer just becomes x. The square root and the square cancel each other out. Now, you can't actually take the square root of 5, so I'm going to leave that as part of my answer. But I do want to remember that when I take the square root of a number in an equation, I have to consider that the answer could be positive or negative. And so I actually have two solutions to this expression. I have the positive square root of 5, and I have the negative square root of 5. When I move to my second example, I have in parentheses x minus 2 squared is equal to 16. And we're going to approach this in the same manner. So we have this x minus 2 squared, and our first goal needs to be to get rid of the squared. So I'm going to do that by taking the square root of both sides of the equation. So again, when you have a square root and a square, they cancel each other out, leaving you just what's underneath. So in this case, just x minus 2. When you take the square root of 16, we know that we get 4, but we need to remember that that 4 can either be positive or negative. And then finally, solving for x, the last step is going to be adding 2 to both sides of the expression. So that's going to give me two answers. I'm going to go ahead and write down 2 plus or minus 4, and then I'm going to break it up. So if that 4 is positive, then our answer is going to be 2 plus 4. So we'll have 6 as one answer. And if the 4 is negative, we'll be looking at 2 minus 4, which is going to equal negative 2 as our second answer. For our last problem, we have 2 times the quantity x minus 3 squared is equal to 24. And before we can take the square root of both sides to remove the power, we first need to deal with the 2 that sits outside of the parentheses. So to get rid of the 2, I'm going to divide both sides of the expression by 2. So this is going to give me x minus 3 squared is equal to 24 divided by 2 is 12. Once we get it in that format, we're now ready to extract the roots. So we'll take the square root of both sides. Again, the square root of something squared leaves us only what's underneath. So on the left, we'll just have x minus 3. And on the right, we're going to have positive or negative. And we do need to simplify that square root of 12. So remember that the square root of 12 can be written, 12 can be written as 4 times 3. If I break that up, that would be the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So the square root of 4 is 2, and I can't take the square root of 3. So the square root of 12 will simplify to be 2 on the square root of 3. And then our last step is adding this 3 to both sides. So we have x is equal to 3 plus or minus 2 on the square root of 3, which again means that you have two solutions. One answer would be 3 plus 2 on the square root of 3. The other answer will be 3 minus 2 on the square root of 3.